Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about how to go about doing lift variations and still staying strong on your basic exercises, your primary exercises, whatever they happen to be. Because again, this is a topic that comes up a lot for more advanced lifters. Now, novice lifters, you need to perform your basic exercises and whatever accessory work your coach prescribes for you, your program calls for, and that's it. There's not really a lot of need to do other stuff unless you just want to do ab work or some conditioning work and things like that. For a lot of more advanced lifters, particularly people who want to do high exercise variation programs to improve general strength, all around strength, or they want to do something like a conjugate style training, and you do a lot of lift variations, such as you guys see me doing there, safety bar pen squats, and then you'll see me doing some reverse bench later up in here from some of my recent heavier work. We want to do all these lift variations, and people do need to understand that size equals strength, but strength is also specific, and that's in some ways can be a contradictory term, it feels like, but in practice it's not. It's that if we maximize muscle mass through our entire body, we will have an enormous amount of strength potential. Doing lift variations can allow you to do that. It can allow you to program things to get around the law of accommodation. It will allow you to avoid plateaus. And again, just get generally big and strong. And it's a good thing to be strong at a variety of big exercises. In fact, it's a good thing to come in and spend extra time hypertrophying whatever various weak links are. Right? If you know that you have muscles that could be affecting some part of your kinetic chain, or some sort of stabilizer muscle that you need for multiple big exercises, whether it's your abdominals, it could be your rear deltoids, it could be anything like that. It could be your triceps. Right? If you have any muscle that you know needs to be brought up, you're obviously, if you're smart, you're going to spend some extra time just thickening that up, and that might even mean doing smaller exercises to do so in many cases, right? Because you can handle higher volumes of those. In other words, advanced lifters can't train their entire body maximally. We just can't. So if you were to come in and try to seriously isolate every single muscle, as if you could isolate muscles, I know that's a bodybuilder myth, what you're going to generally find is that you're not going to have enough time, and you're going to run out of recovery resources trying to do, 15 sets of small exercises or 20 sets of small exercises for every single muscle and every head in your body. Best of luck with that if you're not using a bunch of drugs. Best of luck with that. I wish you the best of luck. You're going to need it. You're going to need to have been dealt one hell of a hand genetically to pull that off. So you're going to have to allocate those resources. So when it comes to doing that, obviously you're only going to pick your smallest, weakest links to really put a lot of time of coming in and doing 15 or 20 sets of small exercises for, something like rear delts or triceps or whatever it happens to be. Yours could be different than that. But you're going to probably come in and do that. And that's reasonable at a certain threshold for more advanced lifters. But the problem we run into when we start doing a lot of lift variations is what historically people have found, like people who've run like the West Side Conjugate method, who are raw lifters. They seem like they're getting generally stronger, but sometimes their primary lifts will regress because they don't train the primary lifts, or they train them inappropriately, and everything else might be going up, and they might have gained overall thickness and seem to have gained overall strength, but then their max bench goes down 10 pounds. Or their max squat goes down 10 pounds or 15 pounds, and they try to figure out why. And what it comes down to is the fact is that strength is specific. And here's what I would say to you. There's nothing wrong with rotating in if you know what you're doing. Different variations, different exercises, using accommodating resistance. You can use reverse bands or bands and chains and things like that. I'm going to recommend that you don't do partials, not heavy partials at least. There's a place for partials for strength curves, for learning, but to gain size and strength, partial exercises are not ideal. So I'm not talking about using partials for raw lifters. I'm talking about some of these variations in accommodating resistance, right? There's different reasons to train them at different rep ranges, whether it's maxes or speed work or whatever, right? There are reasons to oftentimes do it. But people will regress sometimes at their main lifts, and it's because they don't practice them. What you need to remember is strength is specific, right? You can get generally big and strong doing all sorts of stuff. In fact, you could do squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, chin-ups, right? With sets of 10 lots of sets of 10 reps or 12 reps. And you could get pretty big doing that, and you could build a massive strength base, but you're not going to have a really good 1 rep max. Why? Because you haven't practiced them. Even though you know the movement patterns, you don't know how to do them heavy. You've moved the bar through whatever path has allowed you to do 10 and 12 rep sets. You haven't practiced generating maximum force. So therefore, you'll have the potential to, because you'll be jacked, right? I mean, if you maximize your size doing 10 to 12 rep sets on all those big exercises, you're going to have put on a pretty large amount of muscle. But lifting heavy on a specific exercise is a skill that you have to learn. And anyone who's built themselves up with traditional hypertrophy rep ranges, which we know there isn't such a thing, but that is what it's classically called, like the 8 to 12. If you build all your size in that rep range, you're going to have strength potential, but you're going to kind of suck at maxes because you haven't practiced them. Well, what people need to remember is that even if you've done maxes with pretty extreme variations from the main lifts, you've gotten good at least exerting maximal force, but you haven't got good at the exact joint angles always that you're going to train. So here's what I would recommend. 2 things. Number 1, you need to actually still practice the big lifts. So what you guys see me doing in this video is from some recent workouts I did. Again, I did one sort of squat variation, but then afterwards, that was from the same workout. I came in and I did some singles with 90% afterwards. Why 90%? Because I did the same thing with the benching. I did this reverse bench, and then I did, a bunch of singles with 315. I did 5 singles on legal pause bench. Why? Because you do not dial in your form for lifting heavy until you reach 90% of your maximum effort. In other words, until you get within 90% of your 1 rep max, you're not actually going to use the exact same technique that you would do on the heavy lift. Like, anybody can lift with perfect form on a lightweight, but when you start approaching 90% or more of your 1 rep max, there's usually only going to be one form, the one that's ideal for your leverages and everything, that's going to let you get it right and make it look smooth and make it look good. You're going to have to actually practice it, and you're going to have to hit 90% to do it. But then it will also get you in practice of hitting it. So I would say any lift that you really care about your maximum strength on, no matter what variations you are doing, no matter what variations you're doing for your general buildup to build your maximum size, your maximum strength, your speed strength, all these different variations that you might be doing of different exercises or different movements you might be doing that aren't as important to you, but you do a lot of them, whether it's power cleans or chin-ups or whatever, all these different lifts. You need to come in and you need to practice the lifts that you care about your maxes on. And you need to do at least 3 to 5 singles every week with those exercises with 90%, so that you get used to still lifting heavy with those exercises. So if you're a power lifter, it's going to be squat, bench, and deadlift. If you're a strength lifter, it's going to be squat, press, and conventional deadlift. All right? Whatever lifts that you really care about, you're going to need to still come in and practice doing them heavy if you want to maintain your maximum strength on them. And that's something to think about when you're setting up other variations. Like, let's say a person wants to do stuff like they want to rotate max effort lifts as a raw lifter, not a equipped lifter. You need to start thinking in terms of load at the bottom. In other words, if you bench 350 as a max bench, any sort of accommodating resistance you do to where you have 300 pounds or less touching your chest, it's not useful to you. So board work is probably not a good idea. But even with your accommodating resistance, you might be able to lock out 450 pounds at the top. But if you start falling much below 90% of your max, you're going to lose the power off the bottom. You're going to lose the strength off the bottom, because we don't develop maximum strength with weights that are less than 90% of our max. And so if you can bench 350 and you're only doing 290 or 300 for the accommodating resistance off your chest on all your variations you're doing, whether it's with a slingshot or reverse bands or chains or whatever you're doing, do you guys see what I'm saying? That's what your strength level is going to drop to from that point, because strength is specific. I mean, those variations are valuable. They're really valuable for a lot of reasons. But you have to keep track of what you're lifting at the hardest part of the exercise. And when these different strength curves affect that, they can affect your ability to lift at your weakest point. And if you get weaker at your weakest point and you get stronger at other points, even though you might hypertrophy, everything might get thicker, but you lose the joint angle specificity at your weakest links, you're going to have to rebuild it. So it's better to just not lose it at all. And a little bit of supplemental work with your main lifts can go a long way to doing that. Picking very carefully what you do for accommodating resistance or accessory movements or whatever, so that you maintain some strength through your weakest joint angles, will go a long way to maintaining your overall strength. Because that's kind of the idea. Anyone who's doing large amounts of exercise variation instead of high specificity, we are trying to get generally strong. You're trying to get rid of all your weak links. But if you're not careful about it, you will develop weak links again in areas that need to be your strongest links for your specific lifts that you care about or your specific sport. And you can't let that happen. Because remember, there's general strength, but there is also specific strength as well. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.